Being a founder is quite clearly an insane job. It's literally impossible. There are too many things that you are responsible to do. Even if you worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, there's no possible way you could accomplish it all. And even if you delegate to your team, they don't have enough time to accomplish it all. So how in the world do you decide? What do? What do you delegate? And what just gets left undone? I struggled with this in my startup, and I found two frameworks to be really useful, and I'll walk you through how you can use those to optimize and prioritize your time in this episode. Greetings, founders. Welcome to Feel the Boot, the science of startups. I'm your host, Lance Cottrell, and I'm here to help you navigate the nearly vertical learning curve you're going to encounter as you launch your business. I know I've been there myself, and I have helped countless other founders through this path. In the early stages of a startup, you and your co-founders are going to wear all the hats. You'll be doing all the jobs. You're coding, you're doing marketing, you're doing sales, creating content, raising money, delivering and packaging products, cleaning the bathroom, right? Everything gets done by you. And the question is, how do you decide which of the tasks in any of those categories you need to do? And one of the problems is that often we are attracted to the things that we enjoy doing or that are our core competencies, and that's where we focus our time. But what you're good at isn't necessarily the correct answer to what you should be doing. The question you need to be asking yourself at all times really came from Drucker, and he said you need to think about, what does the business demand of you? What are the things the company needs to have happen? And more importantly, what are the things the company needs to have happen that only you can actually do? Things that can't be delegated to your team when you finally do have a team. One of the common problems is that many tasks shout for attention. Classic saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, the squeaky email or Slack chat or text message will often grab your attention. And I think frequently we as founders find ourselves in a very reactive mode where different fires pop up, different people are shouting for attention, different issues come across our computer screen, and we're busy reacting to those one after another and trying to accomplish as many of those as we can get done in some period of time and try to shove it all into one day. But unfortunately, the things that are calling for our attention are not necessarily the things that we ought to be doing. Are we doing things that are strategically useful? And so there is a great framework that I found, I'm hardly the first one to find it, that General Eisenhower put together for analyzing each one of the tasks in front of you and deciding how to treat it. And he broke down all tasks, all requirements, into two categories, two axes, and made a 2x2 grid out of it. The first is it important? Is this something that will really move the needle for the business? Or is this just some task that should be done, but is not actually making a substantial difference to the company? And the other axis is whether it's urgent. Is this something that needs to be done now? Does it have a deadline? Does it have someone shouting for that answer or for that response? And so each thing you might need to do, you can consider falling somewhere into one of these four quadrants. And this allows you to categorize things. Now, it's pretty easy. If things are both important and urgent, there's something that you should work on right away. If your house is on fire, don't go answer emails, get some water and put out the fire immediately, right? Urgent and important, it moves the needle and it has to happen now. You're going to do that now, drop everything else. Conversely, the opposite corner is the not important and not urgent. So it doesn't matter when this gets done, maybe at all, and even if you didn't, it wouldn't make a difference. That's also pretty simple. Don't do those things, right? You don't need to do any of those. If it's a little more important, it's not totally down in the corner, maybe you delegate it, it's almost certainly something that you don't personally need to do. The urgent but not important is the sneaky trap. That's the quicksand that captures so many of us, because all of those emails and messages and things coming at you all the time, right? They're often urgent, or at least sound urgent. But if you stop and think about it, most of them aren't really that important at all. And so maybe you decide that that doesn't get dealt with, or it gets dealt with really, really quickly, or you pass it off to someone else. but it probably doesn't deserve to be front and center on your plate necessarily, right? And that can suck up 90% of your day really easily. Now, the forgotten corner of this chart is the one that really matters and I want you to think about, and that is important but not urgent. All of those tasks which don't have a deadline but do move the needle on the company. And things like strategy fall into this category, right? The big questions about what kind of a company are you building and what should it look like? What's the shape of this thing? Who are your customers? How do you want to go to market, right? Those are all super important and will make all the difference to your company, but they're not shouting for attention. You might have an advisor who periodically pings you and reminds you that you should be thinking about these things, but it's not one of those just always in your face problems. And so they tend to get neglected. Really important to make sure that you carve out time for the important but not urgent tasks. In fact, carve out some time to think about what those tasks are so you can put them on your to-do lists and on your calendar and really create a forcing function and a driver around accomplishing those things so you're not just in a continuous reactive mode to whatever happens to be going on in the moment. The other framework that I found useful was to look at the level of abstraction that you're working at. So you may be doing coding, or you may be answering phone calls, or doing sales, or shipping product, right? Those are all activities that are very task-oriented and are in the business. They're things the business needs to do to be operating. And we call that working in the business. But it's also critical that you, as founder and CEO, be working on the business. Be doing things at a meta level. Make sure you're doing a prairie dog, picking your head up and looking out, looking at the horizon, seeing the forest instead of the trees. Pick your analogy of preference, but doing things that affect how the company is built. Again, these tend to also overlap with that important but not urgent, but not always. But things like, who do you need to be hiring? How do you want to structure compensation? What kind of culture are you trying to build? Should you pivot the company? What is your go-to-market strategy, and does that need to be altered? Right? Things that will then percolate down to the tasks that you and others will be executing in the business. But making sure that you spend that time prairie dogging, because we often get into these situations where there is so much work and we're so busy and we're behind schedule and we're trying to ship and all we're doing is executing. And we can often be missing big opportunities and reasons to rethink and fundamentally question what it is we're doing and where we're spending our time. But that requires stepping back and working on the business. And my general rule of thumb is you should be spending something like 20% of your time, even as an early stage founder, working on the business as opposed to in the business. There's plenty of in the business still to be done. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope you found it useful and interesting. I'd love to hear from you what kind of time management and prioritization techniques and frameworks you found useful in your startup. Please let me know down in the comments. I'd encourage you to please like this episode. It'll tell the YouTube algorithm what kind of content you like and make sure you see more of it. And while you're clicking down there, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe and ring that bell. It would help me out a lot. If you'd like to get one-on-one feedback and coaching for your business, come to feeltheboot.com and join us. Sign up for the mailing list, and I'll include in every single newsletter a link where you can book one-on-one office hours with me for any topic. I can talk to you about fundraising, strategy, product, marketing, messaging, HR issues, staffing, how to structure equity. I've talked to countless founders on all sorts of topics, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I really hope you'll take advantage of that. You might also be interested in interacting with other founders who are interested in this sort of Feel the Boot content. Come over and join the Feel the Boot Founders Alliance. I'll put links to all these things down in the description. And till next time, ciao.